Chaos Knight has always struggled with farming slowly. So in this game we're going to look at MidOne play Chaos Knight, and we're going to try to figure out how he manages to farm incredibly fast on that hero. Welcome to the Church of Obelisk. My name is MidOne. A little bit of a skirmish at the start here, and we see already one casualty. Silence also in deep trouble, and this is in fact a carry silencer. So this Chaos Knight is, even though he's in the mid lane, is really playing the position 1 role, because Silencer is not going to carry the game on his own. He dies here, so very good start here for the Dire. And we can see Chaos Knight doing some blocking. He's fixed the camera on his hero, so he doesn't have to move the camera with his mouse or with his keyboard. So he can just focus on blocking. A good technique to do the start, and he gets a much better block here. Also, of course, because Monkey King was down the bottom helping with those kills. So Monkey King didn't get any kills here, he just got an assist. So in terms of impact for the lane, this is actually good for the Chaos Knight. But of course it's not an easy lane against Monkey King. However, Monkey King was changed in the last patch to have a lot more armor, so he's less vulnerable against range shooters who can harass him. But he's also, his Jingo mastery is a lot weaker now, especially at the start. So these matchups against melee heroes are not as crushing as they used to be. So even though it's not a good matchup for Chaos Knight, you're still going to do fine in this lane. And you just want to avoid the static lane equilibria. You want to have the lane either at your tower or the enemy tower. You're going to have this lane pushing back and forth, because you can blast it reasonably well on the tower, because Seeker has a pretty good base damage. And a couple of patches ago they also removed that feature where you had this very wide spread of damage, damage between minimum and maximum damage. So now it's a lot more consistent, and you can actually last hit reasonably well. And then with a point in Chaos Striking, you just start doing these camps in between. Like this wave is a bad position, so because it's under the tower, it's going to push to him very soon. But if you walk up here, it's just going to take too much damage from Monkey King. So it's just going to take this jungle camp very calmly here, and then return to the lane once the lane is in a more favorable position. So now that the wave is in a more favorable position, he can go back to the lane, and if Monkey King goes to him now, he can just run back to his tower, and it's going to be fine. And yeah, he's going to take some hits here from Monkey King. Uses his Boundless Strike to be able to get that 4th stack up, but also takes a lot of damage, so it's not really worth it for him. And now the wave again in a bad position, but now there's double wave coming in, so Monkey King can't really do too much aggressively here. And so that's why it's fairly safe still to remain here and get those last hits. He's gone for a brace at the start here, which is a very efficient item right now. Gives a good amount of damage, 8 damage in total, helps you out with last hitting and trading, and also gives a good amount of HP regen, which supplements the sustain you get from Chaos Strike. Now that Monkey has a couple of levels, he has level 3 Jingo now. It's very difficult to actually continue playing this lane, so whenever the lane is not in a favorable position, he's just going to go in jungle. And if Monkey King just wants to statically farm this lane, that's fine. Tiki can get about the same amount of farm here in the jungle. But if Monkey King pushes in the lane, then he can go here and defend the lane when it pushes into him. But since Monkey King is just keeping the lane static here, CK is just content to farm here. There's a couple of things that make Chaos Knight stronger than he used to be. So first of all, I have this Chaos Strike being once again a proc that has a 30% chance of proccing instead of proccing every couple of seconds. This makes it a bit more unreliable in the lane, but it's much better for jungle farming and just scales better into the game. So now attack speed is even more valuable on Chaos Knight, and that's also part of the reason why he's going for a Midas. Midas is always a good item on Chaos Knight, but now the attack speed is more valuable, and Midas has just itself been buffed. So it's quite a good item to go for and helps you with your farm. And of course, attack speed is always just great in illusions. So it's not just for the extra golden experience you get, it's also for the illusion damage you get from that. So they go Monkey King, try to get some sort of fight going, but this level 1 ultimate is quite weak. This illusion gets cleared immediately. The level 1 ultimate is much worse in terms of durability, So it does a little bit less damage. It used to spawn 3 illusions that each deal 40% damage. Now it has 1 illusion with 100% damage. So 100% is less than 120%. So you do less damage, and also it's just very easy to actually remove that illusion. So you can just kill 1 illusion and then the ultimate is basically over. Whereas previously there was 3 illusions and you couldn't clear them all typically unless you had some sort of strong AoE spell. So the level 1 ultimate is quite a bit worse for fighting, but it actually has a much shorter cooldown and less mana cost. So you're going to see this throughout this game is going to use the ultimate in many cases just to farm, which is something with the old cooldown of 120 seconds or 125 seconds was just not really viable. But now it's only 75 seconds and you also get a cooldown reduction talent at level 15. You can actually use that Phantasm quite well to farm, and that's a big part of the reason why MidOne gets so farmed in this game. MidOne has been fortunate enough to get a Royal Jelly in this game, but if you don't get that, you're going to have to rely a bit more on clarities. But even so, you can see him shipping out a clarity here, help with the farming. And here you can see him using the ultimate just to clear that little stack a little bit faster. And you want to use this ability a lot. This illusion does a lot of damage. It does the same damage as you do, but it is quite fragile. So importantly here, he's not going to let it tank any of the splash damage here from that black dragon. So this really speeds up his farm, and he's able to clear this ancient camp quite quickly. So definitely keep those illusions alive if you can, especially when you're farming. They can't tank very much. So he's getting treads now, of course, very standard. You can also get treads before Midas if that's required, but in this game he was farming fairly passively, Monkey King not really threatening him too much. So you could get away with the Midas first, which of course gives you better farm. The abilities to max here are definitely Reality Rift and Chaos Strike. Which ordering exactly you take depends on how the game goes. Chaos Strike is more with the farming ability, Reality Rift is definitely stronger fighting ability, but this is also good for farming, gives you a bunch of armor reduction, and if it's maxed out it's only a 6-second cooldown, and it's also fairly cheap on the mana cost, so definitely also something to consider. But yeah, generally you want like as many points in Chaos Strike as is required to sustain yourself, and then you put the rest into Reality Rift. Even though MidOne has gone for this rather greedy build and greedy playstyle, he's still going to show up to fights. You still are fighting here as Chaos Knight. You don't want to AFK farm, you're going to show up to fights, and thanks to his intervention here they catch that Oracle, and now they can possibly get something more. But the Willow uses all abilities to get out of here, but with Chaos Knight he's very easily dodging that Curse Crown with Phantasm, and now they can chase down the Willow, and Timoso has to chain away here, and now they can go and take on that tower. And you can see him farming some more with illusions. These illusions just do so much damage, so you can clear these ancient camps quite quickly. Meanwhile, this main hero is pushing out this wave. Normally you want to do the opposite. You want to farm with the illusions in the risky places and farm with the hero in the safe places, but here in this case he wants to keep pushing this lane, so that's why I sent his hero top rather than the illusions, so he can clear those waves up and still put a pressure on the enemy tower. But with this fight going on, he has to consider whether he wants to join, but unfortunately no town portal up, so he's just gonna keep this a bit safe. He doesn't really want to be up here because it's just very deep in enemy territory. They still have this outpost here, so you can easily get caught out that way. So he just gets the safer farm here. He's joining another fight, and you always want to go for these vulnerable targets. This Timbersaw is not going to die, but these targets like the Oracle is probably the #1 target because you can save other people. You want to jump the Oracle or the Willow, but here is a bit deep and he's going to get killed, so this was not a very good fight for them. So after Midas and Treads, he's gone for Echo Saber, which is just a very strong item that's like as if it's custom made for Chaos Knight. It gives you everything you want. It just gives you strength and it gives you a bunch of mana regen, a bunch of int. So he's a very mana hungry hero, CK is, and he has very low int, so this is a great item. And just a double attack is great because CK is quite a slow hero in terms of attack speed. So it's just a really efficient item for CK. And the problem in the past, of course, was that Echo Saber was a dead-end item, but now that it builds into Silver Edge, it's much stronger. And Silver Edge is also a pretty good item on CK in general, and a really good item in this game because it helps us against Spectre, disables her passives, it disables the Timber Saw's reactive armor. Now he still keeps the stacks that he has, but if he's broken, he can't get additional stacks. So it's very useful, and also against Monkey King helps him not get those Jingo stacks up. So Silver Edge, very strong item in this game, and that's why it is going for it right away. If it's not like a really good Silver Edge game, you probably want some other item first, maybe like a heart, and then eventually you complete the Silver Edge. But here it's just really powerful. And so in this fight, he's just a bit too deep here and he gets killed. It's always sort of a delicate balance on the CK, just not going too deep, because he's the hero who just inherently through his kit has to go in, has to kind of dive people. But you have to be a bit mindful of what's happening. Because with this build, you're not actually super tanky. Like, yeah, there's no heart yet or anything like that. He just has like a couple of strength points from Treads and from Echo Saber. Other than that, it's just like items that give you like attack speed and things like that. But not really items that make you super tanky. Now you might look at this game and see that they're 3k behind. They're playing as a Spectre lineup. And sure, they have CK who scales reasonably well, but they also have a safe lane Silence who's not exactly known to be the best carry. So what do they actually do here? And the answer here in this case is they're going to go for a very risky Roshan. They don't really have any big advantages. The only thing they have is that Spectre ult is still on cooldown, but it's only for a very short time. Spectre is going to be able to join this fight very shortly, so it's again trying to go for the Oracle because he's the most vulnerable and also the hero that can save other people. So going to go after that one, and other than that, the Villa, which is currently already dead. So right now the Spectre is very deep, so they can just kill her off. That's very straightforward. And now you of course have to watch out for that Monkey King. The ultimate is now up in 2 seconds, so he can use that, and he uses that right away. And he's gonna try to get this Monkey King, who is desperately trying to get some stacks up. It's not gonna happen. So CK is actually able to escape here, and this is a very successful fight for them. And now they can just go back into Roshan. CK can of course heal himself back up with Chaos Strike, and you have Silencer coming, you have Enchantress coming in. So this Roshan goes quite quickly, especially now with Bristleback joining with those Viscous Nasal Goo stacks with minus armor. Roshan falls right away, and then they have Aegis on Chaos Knight, so they can fight here, get an easy killing Timber Saw, partially thanks to that Silver Edge, and now they're actually in a really good spot. But he's still continuing with this farming approach. He's still using the ultimate pretty much whenever it's off cooldown. It now only has a 1 minute cooldown with that little 15 talent, so 64.5 second cooldown. That is fairly spammable, has a 30-second uptime. And almost like clockwork, whenever this ultimate is up, he just uses it and just goes and farms some more camps, some more lanes. He's taking the dangerous farm here with the illusions, and meanwhile his hero taking more safe farm here in the triangle. The item he goes for after the Silver Edge is a Eye of Skadi, which of course is a very powerful stat item, and stats of course very strong in Chaos Knight, but it also has the extra slow, which is great to not be kited as much, and then of course also now the heal reduction, 40% heal reduction, which is a lot and especially powerful against that Timber Saw with all his stacks. It's also good against Monkey King, who can heal off his Jingo stacks, so it's a very strong item here, and it's definitely an item you don't want to go for in every game, but if it fits like this, it's a very strong item. All the stats are useful, strength and agility of course are great for your illusions, and the int just helps you keep up with your spells. In a more typical game, you probably want to go for a heart earlier, so you want to go for heart either after Silver Edge or even just after your Echo Saber. But here just these items are just in this particular game very strong. So after winning that fight previously, they can just take down this melee racks. They have ultimates here available, so They just keep going and kill off that Spectre, and she dies very quickly when she's broken. So they claim this first lane of racks, and then they just rather greasily go for this second lane. And with the fortification, I think it's honestly time to go back, but they want to keep fighting. So they get initiated on by that Monkey King, and now you just have to get out of here. You're low HP, you don't have ultimate, there's no way of fighting this, so they just have to get out and cut their losses. Here comes a move I don't quite understand. So they're up here, there are two of them, and as soon as the enemy go up the ramp, they immediately eliminate the Willow, so that's good. But now he's kind of in deep here and can't really get out. So Monkey King gets saved by Oracle ult, and there's just so much damage coming out of the CK, as well as this Silencer. Silencer is a very squishy hero, but if he just is allowed to hit, while the enemy just focuses exclusively on CK, he just does so much damage. So they actually get this 2-for-4 exchange here. They're fighting against the entire enemy team, and partly it's just because of good positioning here, but then again the enemy team had a ward here, so they knew exactly where they were. But yeah, that was just went really well, and just shows you how strong CK can be. If you're ever curious where we don't see a lot of carry Silencer, here is why. So Silencer finds a haste rune, decides to investigate a little bit, and just innocently doing a creep wave. Yes, haste after all, but bump, he gets stunned, and that is a dead Silencer. Yeah, that is why you don't see that hero too often. Like, he's not having the best game, obviously. He's pretty far behind the net worth, but for a carry just to be killed that easily, that is a problem. It doesn't really matter how farmed Silencer gets. He's always easy to kill. And so the Radiants just have to retreat here. By the way, since we last checked in, the Dire have taken an Aegis, so right now CK's game plan is just to avoid the enemy. He's just doing some split pushing, using his Phantasm Illusions to push the side lanes, and apparently now he's disconnected or something. Now he's back, and he's going to keep pushing these side lanes to just try and buy some time. But now the Horde is coming in, and Dust is also here on Willow, who's a very good boy and has Dust, so they get that kill onto CK, but he does have buyback though, and he did force 2 heroes top, so it's delaying the push, but still it's not the best situation. There's still a slight net worth lead here on the Radiant, but in this spot definitely position is better for Dire. CK really trying to hold on to his buyback here, but now he's finally forced to use it as the enemy are taking the tower here, so it's very difficult to actually fight into the Monkey ultimate, but he's still going to try, but it's not going to go too well. All solutions just get cleared so quickly, so he has to retreat and go heal back up on the fountain. However, with a very good Earth Spirit ultimate, the enemy team is also quite low, so this Spectre still has an Aegis, so he can play quite boldly here, but they are going to be able to take them out, but of course you're going with Monkey King preferentially here, so that's a very nice draw in here with the Reality Rift, and Spectre respawning in a couple of seconds. They can just go ahead and just kill her again. She's still in tower range here, and it just takes so much damage. So of course you do a lot less damage without your ultimate, but it's still a decent amount of damage coming out, especially we have that Silver Edge applied here, and then Silence of course can, even if he's under farm, dish out a good amount of damage. So now it's their turn to go for the high ground. They go for the melee Rex here right away. Fortification comes out, so now we can hit the creeps. We're not fortified, a bit slow on that, but okay, of course the Rex is the more important objective here. The nice boost of travel here, very nice, and they can just claim this set of racks, and they're not done here. Spectre is dead for 40. She does have buyback, but she doesn't really want to use it, so they can just go ahead here and go down here and force her to use it if she has it. And we see Bristleback here doing a bunch of diving in the back, as does the Earth Spirit, but that's really not important. CK is here with his eyes on the prize. Spectre's now bought back, so they want to retreat here and do it in as orderly a fashion as possible. but the silence is a bit of trouble. So CK can just come in here again and just use the stunts, but if you have the ultimate up here, Monkey King ultimate, you have to get out. You can't fight in Monkey King ultimate, but he's still sort of biding his time. He has Phantasm in a second here, so he can come back into this fight and kill this Monkey King. So he uses the Echo Saber here, or rather the Silver Edge, and this means Monkey King can't really fight. And with all these illusions hitting the Spectre, she doesn't really stand much of a chance, so she dies. And now it's just a really good position for the Radiant. We also see a buyback coming out of the Enchantress, so not just a matter of just finding any survivors here. Maybe you can find this Monkey King, or maybe not. So he's able to jump out of there, but they did find the Willow here, so 2 people dead, and now they can go for the push. Of course, the great thing about Chaos Knight is that he can always heal himself up back with the Chaos Strike. Doesn't work as well for the mana, but he does have a decent amount of mana regen, 7.7 here, thanks to that Royal Jelly and to the Silver Edge. So yeah, that is how you farm as Chaos Knight. That is how you carry games. You just want to use that ultimate whenever it's up, use it for farming, use it for fighting, and go for the vulnerable targets, and then you can take the objectives and win the game. So there you have it, 736 GPM on Chaos Knight. Even though he didn't have a particularly good lane, he doesn't have a great KDA, he showed up to all the fights, still very strong GPM, highest net worth in the game. Tell me in the comment section what you think about this new playstyle of Chaos Knight, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, share it on social media, spread the word of Obelisk. And before you go, I have these other videos here on the screen which show you up-to-date playstyles for carry and mid heroes in this patch, and Obelisk willing, I'll see you there.